Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Mike Bergamo. He is on the executive committee for Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's. The acronym would be CAP, C-A-P. First time on the show, so welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I want to start out with a sort of a very basic definition of what Parkinson's is, because many people have heard of it, maybe many people know, and they also know probably celebrities that have it, or maybe some people in their lives that have it, but tell people what Parkinson's is.
Basically, Parkinson's is a neurological disease, and unfortunately there's no known cure for it. And it is degenerative. What's affected is the substantia nigra in the brain, where we don't create enough dopamine in the brain, and the dopamine is the crucial part of generating, or think about it, lubricating our nervous system. So people who have Parkinson's tend to have tremors like I have. They may get some stiffness, rigidity, sleep problems, speech problems, things like that.
And obviously you have Parkinson's.
Yes.
Now, how early in life did you discover it, or was it diagnosed for you?
I was diagnosed 4 years ago, but I started noticing symptoms probably about 6 years prior to that.
Symptoms such as?
My hands would start trembling, having difficulty riding. I had problems with my balance. And so I kept going to see doctors one after another. And I'm doing test after test.
Were they misdiagnosing it initially?
No, it's just extremely difficult to diagnose because there's no MRI that can be done.
Right.
There's no blood tests, no other work. So it's a symptomatic disease. So you have to, so I finally went to a neurologist, and she's the one who diagnosed me with Parkinson's by giving me a little pill. And she says, you've got the symptoms of Parkinson's, but if you take this pill and your symptoms subside after about 4 weeks, we kind of know what you have. And sure enough, after 2 weeks, my symptoms subsided and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
And do they come back after the effects of the pill wear off, obviously? Because it's
Yes.
certainly not a cure. Right?
No, it's not a cure. The medicines that are out there, there's not that many, but the medicine does wear off during the day, and we call them off times, where the tremors may become more pronounced, or your difficulty with whatever part of the disease is becomes more prevalent during that time, and so you have to take another pill called levodopa, which is a form of artificial dopamine into your body, which helps with the tremors and things like that.
It's like taking insulin for a diabetic.
Exactly.
Or a person with diabetes. Now, it's interesting. I've always found that many guests that I have on the show, especially when it's related to a disease, having it, or maybe somebody in your life close having it, you have a tendency to really, you have a vested interest in it, in learning as much as you can about it, but also getting involved in some way. And obviously you have with the Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's and the other organizations. So how, when you were diagnosed and then you discovered you had it, a decision had to be made at some point in your life, and you just wanted to be involved and learn more and try to maybe help other people too?
Exactly. Because it is such a complicated disease, and it is a customized one too, you could meet 20 people with Parkinson's in the room, and each one of them have different symptoms. So it is complicated. So by getting to know as many people as you can to help you through your experience with the disease does help.
It's like support groups, right?
It is a support group, and it is a close-knit group, and we do help each other out quite a bit.
Parkinson's, they know, they don't, I mean, you can't test for it per se, it's a symptomatic disease. How much do they really know about Parkinson's?
They know exactly where it is in the brain.
No kidding, huh?
It's about the spot of maybe like the tip of your pen is affected in the brain, and that's it.
Wow.
And that's where the dopamine is generated, and it's just not producing enough, and it just wreaks havoc on your body.
They're working on it. Do you follow along with the research and advancement in medicine, and you're probably on the cutting edge of knowing like what's on the horizon maybe as far as the next big thing for treatment?
Actually, I was at a Michael J. Fox roundtable where they had some of the guest speakers. Was one of them. She was the co-founder of the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and they had a couple of researchers and doctors there. and they keep saying they're close, but there just hasn't
Been saying it for a while,
been
right?
saying it for a while, and just no breakthrough
Yeah,
yet.
and I've been hearing, depending on the show that you watch, the science shows, it really does seem like they're close, and like there's amazing breakthroughs. Like you could see the before and after, and there's like a big difference.
There is a big difference. There is one surgical technique that they use called DBS, which means deep brain stimulation, and it is absolutely amazing to see those people on
Night and
or
day,
have
isn't
that surgery. And it's literally when they turn the switch on, because it's a thing that goes into the brain right where Parkinson's is affected, and there's wire leads. They have a little device that's implanted into
Almost
the
like a
chest.
pacemaker, right?
Almost like a pacemaker. They plug them in, and they go from very symptomatic to almost like you couldn't tell they had the disease.
Wow.
And it's like that when it happens. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, they really do. They really have. The one thing about Parkinson's compared to many other diseases, they've really isolated, like you said, the exact spot and even know what to do to at least temporarily rarely correct it. So you got to think. I mean, any time now, just like you said, right?
Anytime, anytime.
The sooner the better, right?
The sooner the better, because it is a degenerative, and
Yeah.
every year my symptoms get worse and worse, unfortunately.
You mentioned Michael J. Fox, and obviously Parkinson's is a disease that has some celebrity people who celebrities have it, but that's also a plus in the sense that notoriety is brought to the disease, right?
Correct.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, having somebody like him be, starting his foundation to help along has been tremendous. He is one of his organization or foundation is the largest associated with fundraising for research for Parkinson's. And when you donate on his website, the majority of his money does go for Parkinson's research and not all these other nebulous things out there.
So having a big time spokesperson talking about it like that certainly does help get at least awareness, and maybe some people donating financially. The thing about Michael J. Fox though is he's had it for years, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see in him a lot of improvement. If anything, it's in a deteriorating mode. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're correct, because it is a degenerative
Yeah.
thing, and unfortunately in his state, it's not going to get any better. I know I'm never going to be better than I was last year or the year before. It's just going to keep
Unless
progressing
something comes along.
unless something comes along. And we're hoping that through research that maybe we can stop the progression of the disease. And then
That's the first
eventually
step, yeah.
that's the first step, and then maybe we can hope to find the cure for the disease.
Tell me what you can do or can't do as far as regular things in life. Go on a hike, go running, go to the gym, or just some kind of activity, or even lesser active things.
Well, actually, you'll be surprised. My wife and I, we do a lot of hiking. Exercise has been known to be one of the best forms of medication for Parkinson's. I work out on a regular basis, and actually my wife and I, we take a boxing class.
Wow.
The reason why we do that is because our mind is quicker than the way our body's reacting.
By the way, your wife has Parkinson's too.
No, she does not.
Okay, but you two are participating together as
Right.
as a unit, basically.
As a team.
Yeah, a team.
It's a class, and we do things together, and we call the spouse or friend or family member caregivers. But having somebody there with you to go along with it is a big bonus. But as I was saying, with the boxing, we're able to coordinate our mind, keeping it active, and fire our muscles simultaneously. Because boxing, you got to be quick.
You sure do.
And one of the reasons why people fall with Parkinson's and have balance problems is because their mind is acting faster than what their body's allowing them to. So exercise and things like that, we encourage it all the way through. You probably don't want us walking on a tightrope or anything like that. Or
Not a lot of circus performers with that.
yeah,
with that
no,
ailment,
and you don't
yeah.
want us to be waiters or
Yeah.
waitresses, holding a tray with
That's a good point. Yeah.
hot liquid on it, so to speak.
So yeah, but still, you can pretty much, and like you said, it's very specific to the individual. For some people, you might not even see symptoms, or at least at that particular point in time. Other times, it can be a little worse. But do things like boxing is a great form of exercise if you didn't have Parkinson's. Never mind if you do have it, but just to be physically active is a huge help, and it's got its own benefits. Even even if you didn't have Parkinson's, you just need to be healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that'll do it for you. You mentioned your wife. Question I want to ask for you now is not the person with Parkinson's, but the people around you or a person with Parkinson's in their life that are dealing with it too, because it's difficult for them too, whether it be family members, caregivers, friends, people close to you. Their life is changed because of this too.
Absolutely. My wife has been wonderful. Same thing with my kids. I have two boys. They're both in their 20s now. And it is a difficult disease and difficult to manage. And having somebody like my wife or a caregiver there to help you, because there are some things I just cannot do on certain days. I have good days, bad days. And it's nice to go out in public and know that there's certain things that I can't do, and she knows it, and she'll come in and chip in and do something for me so I don't embarrass myself, so to speak.
Are you able to sleep? Is that a problem, or?
Sleep is one of the major issues associated with Parkinson's. We have those insomnia states that we go through, and we'll be up, and they run their cycles. You'll have a sleep pattern where, you just get maybe like 2 hours of sleep for 4, 5, 6 days at a time, and it does wear you down, and fatigue is one of the biggest problems as well.
I'm going back to the boxing thing for a second, because I just, if say there's some loudmouth in a bar, you box, so even with Parkinson's, you can knock that guy on his butt.
I don't.
Yeah,
Depends on how big the guy is.
Right. Well, obviously, yeah, but you could, and your wife, she boxes too.
Yeah, I know she's got my back. So
oh, right, that's right. You got your bodyguard there with you too. I want to take a break right now, because when we come back, I want to get into the acronyms, the CAPS and the Make a Difference Parkinson and all that stuff. So we'll take a break now. Do you want to give out a website for people to go and learn more, by the way?
Sure. You can go on to the Michael J. Fox website, or you can go on to the Connecticut chapter, Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's, and their website is www.parkinsonsct.org.
Mike Bergamo, on the executive committee for Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's. We will take a short break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest is Mike Bergamo. He is on the executive committee for CAP, Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's. One of the things we were talking about in the first segment was the difficulty in diagnosing Parkinson's. Therefore, I would imagine, unfortunately, there were probably a lot of misdiagnosis.
Correct. There is. When I was initially seeking help with my symptoms, I did go to a neurologist, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me, and they just said, I can't help you. I don't know. Everything comes back normal. And I sought out a movement disorder specialist, which is a neurologist, but they specialize in movement disorders, and especially like Parkinson's. And she diagnosed me, like I said, with a little pill, that sort of thing, and it does make a world of difference seeing somebody like that.
Did you get lucky being able to go to one of those specialists? Maybe you might not be might be in a worse situation now than if you hadn't gone, right?
Correct. My son needed to see a neurologist. Something was going on with him, and I just happened to be in the doctor's office and reading one of the brochures and saw something about movement disorder specialists, and I'm like, what's that? And so the doctor he was seeing explained it to me, and he says, yeah, book an appointment with Dr. So-and-so, and that's what I did.
Specialist, really, because there aren't that many in the state, are there?
No, there's really, that I know of anyways, 5 movement disorder specialists.
In the whole state?
In the state,
wow.
yeah.
So you got to get lucky to be able to see them in the first place. You got to know about it. Right?
You got to know about it, and that's why these support groups are extremely helpful, because they do help you. And these doctors actually come into the support group and give discussions and talks, and talk to the people in the support group about how to take better care of yourself.
And you want to talk about helpful. Certainly, if you think you have it or do have it, and talking to someone, speaking of support group, who has it, certainly can be very helpful. And there's a story of someone who came into your office one day who was not in good shape at all. Do you want to just pick it up from there?
Sure. One of my clients came in, one tax season, and I was looking at him, and I could just tell he had Parkinson's, and I asked him how he was feeling, and he told me what his diagnosis was, and I
As someone
asked
with
him,
Parkinson's, you would know.
Exactly, yeah. For some reason, we have this ability to pick out people
Even
with
though
the disease.
symptoms could be very different from person to person.
Correct. Yeah. And I asked him who he was seeing, and he was just seeing a general neurologist. And I said, Stanley, why don't you go see my doctor? She's a movement disorder specialist, and I think she can really help you out, because to me it seemed like he was taking way too much levodopa. And but I'm no doctor, so let that person decide.
You're a patient, though,
right?
Yeah.
And he's only had the disease for a couple of years, and I thought the dosage was kind of high for him. So he scheduled an appointment, went to go see her, but the first year that I really saw him, comes walking in my office. He had 2 walkers walking down the hallway, can barely move. He sits down. His tremors were horrendous. His speech was very impacted, and so he made the appointment with the doctor. I saw him 6 months later. Comes into my office for another appointment, pops up out of the chair, no canes, walked right down to my office. His tremors were minimal. His speech was back to normal. And he was exercising. Him and his granddaughter were going for walks every morning. And so it was really great to see.
Exercise doesn't have to be running or going to the gym. It could be just taking a simple walk, right?
Absolutely. You just got to keep moving.
But that gentleman, his life improved greatly because of your recommendation.
Absolutely. And he came back this tax season, and he was just as good as he was last year. It was wonderful to see.
So, you can make progress positively and still have this disease, right?
Correct. With getting the right doctor and the right meds.
But again, it's easy to be misdiagnosed. Let me ask you a question. Is it a hereditary thing? Do they even know what causes it? Is it a person's environment, or how are people contracting it?
Some people, it is associated with a gene. And so, like for myself, I was tested genetically because, I wanted to find out if I was going to pass this on to my kids. So for me personally, it's not genetic. So therefore, it comes down to environmental. And they're still trying to figure out what type of things create Parkinson's. We do know like certain pesticides and things like that are exposures to certain chemicals, but some of those chemicals I've never been exposed to, so there's got to be some other environmental factor associated with it.
Yeah, and Parkinson's, for all the notoriety it gets from celebrities, people may not realize its veracity as far as, ranking it compared to other diseases such as MS or, Alzheimer's. It's right up there, isn't it?
It is. Parkinson's is the #1 movement disorder disease, and only second to Alzheimer's as far as neurodegenerative diseases.
Do you think it gets enough, is there enough word of mouth going around about Parkinson's? Because, you see other diseases where breast cancer, the NFL has pink ribbons on the field. I mean, that's a pretty big exposure. But, there are celebrities with Parkinson's, and they do, the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Is the word out enough about it?
Not yet. We're getting there slowly but surely, but, Michael J. Fox is a typical example. He played on his sitcom that he did for a number of years before he even told anybody.
But he knew it at that point?
He knew it for a number of years before he disclosed that he had Parkinson's.
But the symptoms weren't showing, otherwise it would have been obvious to people, right?
I would assume so, unless he was able to make sure he takes his medications and was filming what they call during his on periods.
Is he at a point now where he really can't work or act? Or I mean, he could certainly be an advocate, but he has his symptoms show.
His symptoms show. He has a lot of dyskinesia, where it's a lot of body movement.
I noticed
like
that. Yeah, and that's certainly a symptom. Yeah.
It is a symptom, and sometimes it's a side effect of the medication associated with the levodopa. That's some of the medications we take. There's certain dramatic side effects, and that happens to be one of them.
And that happens with every drug, isn't there? Some kind of side effect.
Yeah.
Just a fact of life. Yeah. But you have high hopes, don't you?
I have to.
Yeah, you have to. I want you to explain a little bit more about CAP, the Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's. You're on the executive committee, but what is it basically?
Basically is a support group, and support. It isn't one of those typical support groups. It is and it isn't. The acronym stands for Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's, and the person who founded it is Steve DeWitt, and he travels all over the country and speaks and gets in front of representatives and congressmen.
So he's lobbying.
He is lobbying, and he comes back and he tells us what's going on. We have, in the support group, we'll have doctors come in, nutritionists, personal trainers come in and explain how we can take better care of ourselves. They also have what they call like breakout section for the caregivers and ourselves, so that they can discuss what's going on. So it really is an informative group, but we're really advocating for a cure for Parkinson's.
And you have a symposium coming up that I want you to mention before we run out of time on the show because it's important and you want as many people to be involved with it as possible.
Correct. And CAP, Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's, we have merged with a couple other local support groups, and one of them is MADPA, M-A-D-P-A.
Make a Difference Parkinson's Alliance.
That's
what the
correct.
acronym is for that one.
Correct.
And that's a part of that's going to be the symposium.
That's going to be the symposium. This is the second year that they're doing it, and they're going to have they're going to discuss new research that's coming out, types of surgery like deep brain stimulation, things like that. They'll talk about depression, which is very, very, very common associated with Parkinson's, and we know that Robin Williams, what happened to him associated with his depression. And neurologists are going to be there, researchers are going to be there. There's going to be a couple of movement disorder specialists there where you can actually ask them questions there. So it really is an informative symposium to go to, and that's on July 18th at the University of Hartford. And you can register for that at www.allianceparkinsons.com.
All right. And the other acronym, CPWG, Connecticut Parkinson's Working Group, what is that?
That's just the alliance that has formed all the local support groups.
Okay, so that's the one after. That's the result of the merger,
Exactly.
Right? All right,
Exactly.
All right. Well, you just gave out the website, so let's take one more break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay right there. So if people are wondering, maybe thinking that I know someone, maybe I think I may have some symptoms, what's the first thing they should do? Obviously consult a physician, right?
Consult a physician and, tell them the symptoms that you have. And, then they may move you to a neurologist or, like I said, I recommend a movement disorder specialist.
And they're far and few between. So, and it takes one to know one. You spotted one of your clients, and initially, it was fairly on the subtle side, but you could still tell, right?
Yeah, it's like I said. You mentioned earlier, every person is different with the disease, but just certain characteristics. Their movements tend to be slower, and just the tremors basically are kind of a dead giveaway for it too a lot of times.
But people should know their support groups and help is available out there, right? You're a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. I know the support group has helped me out. They've hooked me up with a lot of good people, through exercise programs, nutritionists, and just a lot of other wonderful people within the organization.
And again, it should be noted, we mentioned this before, it's not just the individual with Parkinson's, but those whose lives are around that person who are affected. Family, close friends, caregivers, they are affected too.
Very true.
All right, one more time on the website so people can go and learn more and hopefully want to be involved.
Okay. For MADPA, if you want to register for the symposium, that is on July 18th, and the website is www.allianceparkinsons.com, or you can also link into it through the Connecticut Advocates for Parkinson's, and their website is www.parkinsonsct.org.
Mike Bergamo, we learned a lot today, and we thank you for coming on, not only sharing your story, but hopefully helping some people too. Appreciate it.
I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and be an advocate for Parkinson's. Thank you.
That is our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.